Good evening, everyone. It is 7:01 on Wednesday, September the 27th, 2023, and I'm going to call to order the Board of School Directors Legislative meeting for this month. Ms. Evans, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Evans.
Present.
Dr. Davis.
Present.
Ms. Iannitti.
Present.
Mr. Kessler. Absent.
He is absent this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Levinowitz. Ms. Redding.
Present.
Ms. Sherpier.
Present.
Mr. Sirota.
Present.
Mr. Wallach.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Tonight for us as a school district is one of the biggest nights that we can possibly imagine, as we are here to approve, and upon that approval, welcome our new superintendent. We're going to get to that in a moment. We do have a regular legislative meeting and agenda tonight, so we'll have a number of agenda items. There'll be a couple presentations, including one to honor one of our school board members among us, and other matters. Normally, my opening welcome is relatively short, but tonight I need to do two things in an opening and address two matters. One, expected. We'll talk a little bit about our new superintendent, and one, perhaps somewhat unexpected, definitely unexpected. I need to report that Mr. Kessler's absence this evening is because Mr. Kessler is unfortunately resigning from the board. He has penned a letter to me of resignation that he asked me to read this evening, and I'm going to do that right now on his behalf. School directors, Interim Superintendent Feely, members of the executive leadership team, teachers, staff, and members of the public for whom I have served. As of September 25th, 2023, I will be resigning from my position as a school director for the Upper Dublin School Board. I have decided to take this step as a result of the fact that my responsibilities at work have significantly changed in the post-COVID world, and consequently, I have considerably less time to devote to the work that would need my attention with this board. The level of engagement that is necessary to effectively serve as a school director is one which I simply cannot fulfill, given the other constraints on my time. And this position is important enough that it deserves someone who can devote the time and the energy that is necessary to be successful in this role. During my time on the board, I came to understand that this board works hard at its duties and is committed to achieving goals with the mindset of always striving to do what is best for the entire community. It has been an honor to work with each of you. I am proud that in the 2 years that I served as a board member, we stewarded a recovery from a tornado, oversaw the completion of a tremendous new middle school, remained committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and were fiscally responsible, not only with regard to current budgetary constraints, but also with an eye towards future financial obligations of the district. While there are tough issues that remain, I am also proud that at a number of inflection points, specifically with the bus depot and last year's school tax, we took the time to listen to the community, actually hear their concerns, and then act accordingly. To the members of this community, thank you for allowing me the honor to represent you. It has been an experience that I will always cherish. Andy Kessler. Whenever a board member leaves us, it's a sad moment for the board as a collective whole. Obviously, being on a school board takes a lot of time. It's hard work, and we all want to do it right. And Mr. Kessler had to make a decision, and we respect and value that decision that he made at this time. I think on behalf of the entire board, I just want to thank Andy for his participation here as a board member, for his professionalism, for his quick mind, and what he added to our debates and our discussions, and his, what I'll call his dry wit, sometimes his sense of humor that shone through, perhaps sometimes at policy committee meetings for people that watch those at times. The community can expect an update shortly from the board on the process to replace Mr. Kessler's seat. And with that, we thank Andy for his service, and we'll be moving forward. So from that unexpected piece of news, I want to talk a little bit about our expected piece of news this evening, or at least expected as of last Friday when there was a press release. Tonight we're here, as I said, for a very exciting moment. Dr. Smith is here with her family, and we will soon get to her appointment and the details of that. But first, what I'd like to do in my report is express some thanks to everyone that got us here this evening. Choosing a new superintendent and being part of that process, I can say, and I think a lot will agree, it's an intense experience. It truly is. A rewarding one, but an intense experience. And we wouldn't be here in this position tonight without the help and the participation of a lot of people. And so I want to express some thanks tonight from me, and I think on behalf of the board. First, I want to thank all my fellow board members around this table who went above and beyond to be a part of this process and make our selection process work. Thank you all. I want to express thanks to the MCIU, the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, especially Dr. Speaker and Dr. Landis, who are our consultants in our superintendent search and provided us with a lot of guidance and a lot of process. I want to thank our executive leadership team. They supported us through this process and helped us through the process, all the while doing their jobs and getting us ready for the school year, and they were juggling a lot of balls through those months. I want to thank Dr. Feely. Dr. Feely is our interim superintendent. She's not leaving us quite yet, but she was here to step into a void. The transition from Dr. Yanni to Dr. Feely was as smooth as possible thanks to Dr. Feely, and we all know that she's going to work with Dr. Smith to make that similar smooth transition going forward. I want to thank all the administrators, the faculty, and the staff at the Upper Dublin School District, many of whom participated at various different levels in this process, surveys, focus groups, and various things like that. I want to thank the students, and I want to thank the community who also participated in this process, many of whom, again, filled out surveys, came to focus groups, and provided input and information for the board. We put out a survey, and we're told that, most school districts, when they do that, they'll get 100, couple hundred maybe replies. Over 1,000 people filled out our superintendent community survey, and I think that's something for this community to be really thankful for. And just so people know that information, it was real and it was meaningful. It had really two functions in the process. The first, it helped to shape issues and frame questions and frame some parts of the process as we went along. The information also has been provided to the new superintendent, and it's able to give our new superintendent a picture of our community coming in, things that matter, our culture, our values, issues, things like that. So thank you again to everyone who participated in that very important part of the process. And finally, last but not least, I want to thank Dr. Smith, who applied to be our new superintendent and wants to come and be our new superintendent here. And we will get to her appointment very shortly. With that, I will close my report. Before we get to our new superintendent motion, we do have some reports and presentations to the board, and the first is a very exciting presentation from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, and we have a representative from the PSBA here for an important honor.
That's a hard act to follow. My name is Colin Dempsey. I'm your member outreach manager serving all of you, I'm here tonight on behalf of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association to honor one of our school directors for their years of dedication. School board service has long been a crucial part of our nation's legacy and its commitment to public education. As the first school boards association in the United States, PSBA has a rich history with more than 125 years of service. The consummate school directors are described as ethical, principled individuals with a deep desire to serve. They believe in the value of our public schools and local control of public education. Today, school districts are expected to offer more services along with world-class instruction with limited resources. These expectations provide a tremendous challenge for school directors who are unpaid volunteers who give their time to contribute to schools and communities in which they serve. It doesn't get any easier when the state legislature has not passed the budget yet. Try to get some smiles out of that. Schools' continued efforts to provide high-quality continuous education to all students during the pandemic further highlighted the key role school directors play in educating our children. For more than 35 years, PSBA has been recognizing the contributions of dedicated local school directors with long-term service. The honor roll is the association's way of recognizing and thanking those individuals who exemplify leadership by giving unselfishly of their time and talents for the betterment of the public schools. It gives me immense pleasure to recognize Dr. Levinovitz tonight for 24 years of service. And just to give you an idea of, just to put 24 years into perspective, in 1999, the price of gas was $1.13. So if you find a gas station from 1999, please let me know because I need to fill up for my ride back tonight. But with no further ado, it's a pleasure to present you with this plaque on behalf of the PSBA.
Colin, thank you so much. Before you leave, Colin, could we get a quick picture of you with Dr. Levinovitz? We'll just take a momentary pause to do that. As we get reseated, I'll thank Colin again on behalf of that, and Dr. Levinovitz, Dr. L, as he's known to many, congratulations. It is a pleasure and an honor to serve on the school board with you. With that, we'll move on to our Student Government Association report, and Anthony, I think you'll be the first Upper Dublin student to meet our new superintendent if you look to your right.
Thank you. As Dr. Wallach said, my name is Anthony excuse me. My name is Anthony Soriano. I am a senior at Upper Dublin High School, and this year I will be serving as the school board representative, where I will bring monthly a overview and a summary of things that are going on at the high school and just summarizing things that are happening in students' lives. So, students' first day was on September 6th. The morning started off with staff members cheering, clapping, and welcoming the class of 2027 to the building. The freshman class got the chance to meet their new teachers and learn what their classes will be for the year. Later, they went on to participate in team-building activities in the gym ran by Mr. Highland and Mr. Chang. Activities included Family Feud questions to a very tense game of musical chairs. For the other grades, they too got the chance to meet their new teachers and reunite with their friends. I wish the best of luck to all of our students for an amazing year. The club fair also took place last week, where students had the opportunity to go to different rooms around the school to learn about the different clubs that our school has to offer. The staff and club members for a successful club fair. The theater department revealed their shows for the upcoming year. This year's performance will include Murder on the Orient Express in November, Footloose in March, and ending with Royally Talented in April. We wish the best of luck to all of our talented performers, and we can't wait to look at these amazing productions. This upcoming month is looking busy for Upper Dublin students as Spirit Week, PSAT testing, and the annual Coronation Ball are approaching. We wish the best of luck to all the students taking the PSAT, and I am looking forward to seeing what this year brings and wishing all of our Cardinals the best of luck for this year academically. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. We look forward to having you with us this year as the student representative, and thank you as always for those updates on what's going on around the high school. We truly appreciate it. Sounds like it was an exciting start to the year, and everything's off to a great start. Always great to hear. Thank you. Next, we'll have our superintendent's report. Dr. Feely.
Thank you. We have been off to a great start, as you heard Anthony say, and we are actually going to give you more good news this evening. We have been once again ranked by U.S. News and World Report. The high rankings consider how students perform on 6 different indicators, including college readiness, state assessment proficiency, state assessment performance, underserved student performance, college curriculum breadth, and graduation rate. So we are excited to announce that Upper Dublin was ranked 31 in the state, moving up from the position of 38 last year. And want to thank our staff, our students, and community for believing in public education, and in particular for our leadership team and our entire faculty for striving toward excellence while working passionately to educate all of our students. We're also pleased to announce that we have 7 students recognized as the 2024 National Merit Semifinalist, and we have 11 commended students for the 2024 National Merit Scholarship Program, and we will be bringing those students forward in an upcoming legislative meeting for our board to meet. An update relative to a vaccine clinic. Eric's Pharmacy is partnering with us on October the 5th in conjunction with partnering. They're providing the opportunities for a flu vaccine for people, little ones from ages 3 and up, high-dose flu vaccines, and we'll provide more information on our website about that. The location is going to be at our high school cafeteria, and again, October the 5th. The time is from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening. And pre-registration is highly recommended. In terms of our student enrollment, we have maintained pretty much stability this year. Our total student enrollment is at 4,095. Our total last year was 4,104, so we're 9 students less than we had. However, you heard me say a few weeks ago, we had almost 20 more early intervention students than we previously had. So we're maintaining stability at the current time. In the very near future, parents are going to be receiving an update about a survey that some of our students are going to be participating in. It's called a PAYS survey, and that stands for Pennsylvania Youth Survey. It's sponsored by the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency and the Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs. So the survey is going to ask questions about student behaviors in grades 6, 8, 10, and 12, including questions about school climate, about mental health, violence, bullying, and substance use. The survey is electronic. It's going to take about 30 minutes in length, and it is anonymous. An informed consent letter is going to be sent out at the end of this week to all of the parents in those grades. We also have another update relative to moving forward with healthy relationship lessons. Both Mission Kids and Victim Service Center will provide. I know that Dr. Yanni previously had shared a little bit about these programs with the board a few months ago. I believe that you may have seen some materials from these programs last fall, and our counseling department has researched and observed the lessons. Last spring, the program implementation was shared with the IPD members at all 3 levels and agreed to move forward with the lessons in the district. So in 9th grade, we'll have our students participating in consensual connections lessons, in 8th grade participating in better boundaries, and in K1 participating in safe touch lessons. All programs will be provided with, again, information sent to the parents about the programs, and the secondary lessons will have some pre and post survey information. And that concludes the update.
Thank you, Dr. Feely, as always, for that update. Moving along, we'll next move to our first opportunity for public participation. This is for public participation for agenda items only. If anyone wishes to address the board, please come up to the mic, state your name and where you reside in the township, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Anita Brister, Fort Washington. I have a question that I think is pertinent to tonight's meeting. You may not think it is, so if you censor me, I'll just wait till number 2, community input. And that is, I've had some questions. I didn't come to the August legislative meeting, but I've had some questions about the part of the superintendent search process. And I'm not saying if it was a bad process, but I have a question. There were 2 opportunities for an in-person meetings, only Zoom meetings, to have input into the superintendent search process. The problem I see with that is they were both on the same day. They were both early August, August 2nd. You could either come to, attend a Zoom meeting in the morning, or you could attend in the afternoon. I recently looked to see if those meetings were on the YouTube channel. I see nothing. So my question basically is, were those meetings recorded? And if so, will you be putting them on the YouTube channel? Because it's now been weeks. So I'll leave that there. Just a comment, a question, which is possible I totally missed it, but this is for Dr. Feely. The 31 ranking for Upper Dublin in the state, is that the district or is that the high school? You don't have to, no, they don't answer till the end, so you could do what you want, but they usually don't let anybody answer until the end. Let's see. Oh, the drug and alcohol survey, which I'm glad to see you're sending an informed consent to parents. I wish the district would send informed consent to parents, letting them know about all surveys, and sometimes if kids or parents want to opt out because they feel questions are too invasive of privacy, they would then have that option. I guess all I wanted to know about that is there an approximate timetable of when that would be, when the district might present that to the public? And I guess last for now, but not least, I was a few minutes late, but I understand that Mr. Kessler is resigning. And when will you be telling the public what the process is? I guess basically my question would be, is the board going to have interviews like you did for previous openings, or since we're very close to a school board election, would you just wait for that election and then see who comes in next highest after the winners?
Roland Lind from Fort Washington Village. For those who don't know where that is, that's the area across from Elliger Park where they're poorer cousins. On the agenda item, I would like to adjust item number 6, I believe it is. Education Committee recommendations. I noticed that the amount of money that is being procured for this coach is $53,000 for 50 days. If you translate that into a full school year, that's as much money. It's a little bit more than $53,000 a day. If you translate that into a full year, 220-day normal working year, that's almost exactly the cost of our new superintendent. So my point here is just I hope to see at the end of the school year that the amount of money we're paying for this coach is actually going to raise up our math scores, which have been on the decline for a number of years now. Thank you.
Seeing no one else approaching, I will close the first opportunity for public participation. Let me address a couple of the points that were addressed to the board, and then I'll give Dr. Feely an opportunity as well. On the questions about the search process, there were 2 Zoom opportunities for that focus group, and that was designed purposely to have one during the day and one in the evening to hopefully facilitate participation of both working parents and non-working parents, working community members and non-working community members. Those were run by the MCIU, our search consultant. I do not believe they were recorded. We can double check that. But please know that what was said in those focus groups that were on Zoom was done, the information in that was forwarded to the board so that board members could hear the points that were raised in those groups, and that information was used in the search process and was taken very seriously. I think that was all on the search process. Let me add also, they were done on Zoom to facilitate participation. I mean, you know, there are times when now that we're in a post-COVID world, we like to do things together and in person like we're here tonight, but there are times when being able to do something with the technology that developed, unfortunately, through COVID, enables us to increase participation. And we, with the guidance of the MCIU, believe that doing it on Zoom was the best way to do it, to try to allow people, especially during the summer, to participate from wherever they were, whether it be here in Upper Dublin or someplace afar if they happen to be on vacation or otherwise. And again, we did that intentionally and purposefully in order to try to maximize participation. On the question about Mr. Kessler, as I said earlier, the board will be putting out information as promptly as possible with regard to the process going forward. Mr. Kessler's resignation was immediate, meaning it's effective Monday, and we'll put out information about that just as soon as we can. I think those were the issues that I wanted to touch on for the board. Dr. Feely, do you want to address any in your areas?
So to answer the question related to the U.S. News ranking, it is for high school. And relative to the PACE survey, we are going to be taking that survey next month in the grades I indicated. And in terms of when that information is available, that's been variable. So sometimes we get the PACE survey information back in late spring. Sometimes it comes in the summer. Sometimes I've seen it come as late as early fall of the subsequent school year. So no guarantee, but it does take a number of months to get that information back.
Thank you for that. Other comments from the board? Mr. Sirota.
Just one more follow-up on the filling the seat that Mr. Kessler resigned from. One thing it won't be, we'll be waiting for the results of the election because by state law, we have 30 days. So something will happen. We'll figure out exactly what that is and let you know as soon as we figured it out.
Appreciate that, Ad. Any other comments from any members of the board at this time? Okay, we'll move on our agenda. We have minutes from our August 21st, 2023 legislative meeting. The board has been able to review. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. A second? Dr. Davis, thank you so much. Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Next on our agenda is our big item tonight, our appointment of the superintendent of schools. I think I'm just going to first make a motion and then we can have comments. So it's pursuant to section 1073 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code. I make a motion that we appoint Dr. Laurie Smith as the district superintendent of schools for a 5-year term, commencing December the 4th, 2023, ending December the 3rd, 2028, and that we further approve the employment agreement between the district and Dr. Smith that is attached to the agenda. Do I have a second on that motion? Mr. Sirota, thank you very much. Let me start with just a few introductory comments. Dr. Smith comes to us with vast experience, vision, leadership, and a lot of spirit. Hopefully people have read her comments. Hopefully people have seen her video snippet that she was kind enough to provide to us with our press release last week. There's a lot of background in that I won't repeat. Hopefully the community will get familiar with Dr. Smith. She did start as a physics and math teacher. She then had years of experience as a middle school principal, both assistant and then principal, and most recently she's been an assistant superintendent in a neighboring school district. She comes to us as a team builder. She comes to us as a relationship builder. And we know that she is committed to getting to know every one of us, from the board table to the administration, to the faculty, to the staff, to the community. And we know that she'll do that as she moves into her new role, trying to find multiple hours in the day to make all that happen, no doubt. Most of all, Dr. Smith, I know, believes in children. She believes in opportunities for all children, and that became very, very evident through the interview process. And I will say that I believe she is the person to lead Upper Dublin forward. Any other comments from the board? Seeing none. Oh, Ms. Sherpier?
I guess we can't let this go without. No, I think as you heard earlier, the interview process was a very thorough process, and I think we were definitely very impressed with Dr. Smith's approach. Thorough preparation, but also very quick thinking on her feet, because she was presented with a number of scenarios where we basically wanted to see how would she respond to that. And she did an awesome job. So I think Upper Dublin will be in really good hands, and we're very excited to have her and her family here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Sherpier. Anyone else? All right, I think it is time for a vote. Mr. Diazio, do we need a roll call for this or just a voice vote?
It's not necessary to take a roll call, but you can if you'd like.
I think we can just do a voice vote. All in favor of Dr. Smith as the next superintendent per my motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Dr. Smith, congratulations and welcome to Upper Dublin. Please come forward.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is such an honor to be standing here in front of you and to hear such kind words. Thank you, and I'm glad that showed through in the interview process, that you got to see a little bit of my spirit, but also the hard work and dedication that I will bring to the district. I am just so thankful and looking forward to serving as your superintendent of schools. I can tell you from the moment we started researching Upper Dublin, when the posting came up, to this evening's dinner and meeting with you right before the meeting, I have heard only positive things about Upper Dublin and just been so impressed with everything I've seen. You have made me feel so welcome and comfortable, and I look forward to just continuing our interactions together. I do have with me my family tonight. I'd like to introduce them. My very supportive husband, Arnold, is here, and our two children. They're going to stand in the back as I prompted them ahead of time, maybe not. My son, Dakota, is a senior, and he's studying masonry, and our daughter, Natalie, is in 10th grade, and they're so excited to be here tonight, I know. I also would be remiss if I didn't notice that this side of the room is really some of my colleagues and my teammates from the district that I currently am in, and I so value that they are here supporting me, because I know that a leader is only as strong as the team that they work with, and they have helped me to get to where I am and learn so much over those years. So I really appreciate them being here, but I also recognize again the value of team, and I am looking forward to teaming with the administrators, with the school board, with the teachers and the staff, as well as with our community, and most importantly, being here to serve our students, and looking forward to getting to know them more. So I hope you'll see me over the next course of a few weeks. We won't tell these people on this side that I'm counting down, but I'm really excited to get to be here, and I hope to see you and some of our community members over the next couple of weeks. And again, just so looking forward to and appreciate your confidence in me to lead Upper Dublin, build upon the foundation you have, but see where we can go from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Again, welcome. Okay, we will move on to the rest of our agenda. We have some Education Committee recommendations. Ms. Sherpier.
Yeah, we have 4 items. All of them were discussed in the education meeting. I just want to, the committee meeting, I just want to highlight that item D, the student activities, there are 2 trips for the exchange programs, the British exchange and the Spanish exchange program. So again, all of that is starting back up, which is very exciting. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve items A through D.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a second for that motion? Dr. Davis, thank you so much. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we'll have Finance Committee recommendations. Mr. Sirota.
Thank you. We have 11 items under the Finance Committee recommendations. All of these were discussed in detail last week at the Finance Committee. I want to note that item J has been revised as discussed at the Finance Committee, and item K is, of course, our regular monthly payments that we did not actually discuss. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve items 7A through K.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Ms. Evans, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we'll have our Personnel Committee recommendations. Dr. Levinowitz.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the entire Personnel Committee recommendation list. That's items A through G tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Levinowitz. Is there a second to that motion? I'll second. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Next, we have our Pupil Services recommendations. And as we started last month, Dr. Feely, do you have anything you would like to say or explain about those recommendations?
Certainly. Thank you. Just reference item 9B. This item includes tuition for a student who began his placement in the final weeks of the school year with his ESY program, the ESY tuition bill from Gemma Services, which was formerly identified as Martin Luther 8/28/23. The student did leave the district at the very beginning of this school year, so there will be no need for the upcoming year of tuition. Item 9C is a new agreement that was being worked on at the conclusion of the 22-23 school year and over the summer for a high school student. Item 9D is an agreement for a continuation of a previous multi-year agreement that you had supported in previous years. At this point, I'd like to recommend approval for items A through E.
Thank you, Dr. Feely. We appreciate that. Could I get a motion from a board member for those items A through E? Mr. Sirota, thank you so much. Is there a second? Sherbier, thank you so much. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. The Policy Committee did not meet this month, so we do not have recommendations there. We have one item of other business this evening. It's for officer elections for PSBA. And Mr. Sirota, if I could ask you to take that.
Certainly, as we do every year, we have the opportunity as a board to elect officers to PSBA. At this point, I would like to make a motion to, and I'm pulling the names up because it's not in the agenda. I would like to make a motion to, I'm not sure how to phrase this, to vote for, as a board, Allison Mathis for the 2024 president-elect, Sabrina Backer for the 2024 vice president, Karen Beck-Pooley for the PSBA treasurer. It's a 3-year term, and those are all the seats, I believe, that we elect.
Take a second on that motion. You're moving all three.
Could I get a second on that motion? Dr. Levinowitz. Questions or comments on the motion? I think just so the record reflects, I think all the positions are not contested, but we are voting for the candidates for those uncontested positions in the elections.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Mr. Diazio, we have our solicitor's report.
Yes, thank you. Sunshine Act announcement this evening. The board has met in executive session 3 times since the last public meeting of the board. Those dates were September 11th and September 12th. The purpose of those meetings was to conduct interviews for the position of superintendent of schools and the board met in executive session prior to tonight's meeting, September 27th, to discuss matters of personnel that were voted on in the agenda this evening, and also to discuss one matter related to school safety. Thank you.
Thank you. We are next up to our second opportunity for public participation this evening. This opportunity is for any topic. If anyone wishes to address the board, please come up. Tell us your name and where you reside in the township, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Anita Brister, Fort Washington. First, I appreciate the responses from my questions from the first community input. But Mr. Wallach, part of my point, which maybe I didn't make really clear, August 2nd is not a great day. It's many, many people are on vacation. You're basically saying, oh, yeah, well, that's why we had a morning and an evening. But it's the same day. I was busy actually on that day, but I wasn't necessarily at vacation. If I was on vacation, probably wouldn't have called into a Zoom call. So follow up to that. You told me your response was you chose the 2 times to accommodate more people, but it's still one day. My follow-up question is, can you at least tell us, the community, how many people attended those Zoom sessions, the morning and the afternoon? I do hope you will follow up and try to get if they were recorded. Did you say they weren't recorded? Now I forget. If they were recorded, or were there at least notes taken? Were there minutes? The point is, you're saying that the information was passed to the board. I believe meetings like that should be public. In every single past superintendent search, and I don't have time to go through how many I've been involved in, one long time ago when I was actually on the board, and the others as just a regular taxpayer and resident. Every time we had in-person meetings, minutes were taken, notes were taken, and it was all public. So I'm a little concerned if you're saying they either weren't recorded or they were, but it's not going to be on the website. We don't know if there's even notes taken. I would just like you to follow up on that after you research it a little bit. I have concerns and questions about the capital reserve. Could not make last week's meeting, but the capital reserve transfer tonight, which there was no discussion because I assume you discussed it only at finance. I do feel sometimes you're racing through these meetings, and capital reserve is a really touchy subject, I feel, and you should probably discuss a little bit at these meetings, even though you probably discussed at finance. Tonight's capital reserve transfer, not that anybody cares, but it seems reasonable that that amount from that money should go into the reserve. Okay, that seems reasonable. What does not seem reasonable to me, and this I made really clear in April, May, and June, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. We had a surplus. This district had a surplus in June, towards the end of June. There was actually a difference between the end of May and the end of June. You had a surplus of $11 million, and yet we still had a tax increase. I was here. I appreciate the discussion that you reduced the tax increase from a 2% to 1.6. What I do not appreciate and I do not feel is fair to taxpayers is that we shouldn't have had any tax increase. So to end this with a question that I think is really important that I would like answered tonight, you did not move all 11 million yet into the capital reserve. I would like a recap tonight. How much did you already move into capital reserve that you voted, I believe, in June? And when is the next amount of that 11 million going to go into capital reserve, assuming that the board still thinks that's appropriate? I do not think at all it's appropriate. When a district has that much money in surplus, it should be used to offset taxes. We should have had a zero tax increase, period, the end. It's very dismissive of taxpayers that nobody in this district can even remember. If somebody could prove to me when we had a zero tax increase, I'd love to hear it. Okay, but I've been here 30 years and I don't recall zero tax increase.
Roland Lynn again, Fort Washington. I've sent a long email to everybody on the board. I'm sure you found it stimulating reading somewhere in the vicinity of, say, Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. But I'm very, very upset, not so much in the fact that you tax us. You do tax us. You are our elected officials. You can tax us, and you're going to do what you think is right. But that's not my problem. My problem is when you put out material that basically is nothing more than a sales event to try to say to the taxpayers, we are doing due diligence, and here's what we're doing, and see how it matches with all the other places, when really it doesn't. My particular peak, as I said in my letter to everyone, is this one here on page number 7 of what you said is the final budget. You have above Upper Dublin listed as number 7 on one side and number 11 on the other side, as somehow if a person who didn't understand how to read graphs and budgets and listings, you would assume from this that Upper Dublin is in the middle of school district taxes across Montgomery County's 21 districts that are on this list. That's not true, because you do not say here in this list what the ingoing tax rate is, the amount of taxes, not just the rate, but the amount of taxes. That's a starting point for what you have listed here. And you don't say that after 10 years of city taxes, even if you were to tax us at 10 years for 2% interest, at the end of that 10 years, you would say, well, we've increased your budget 10 times 2% is 20%. No, taxes have a cumulative rate, which adds to the amount of actual taxes that the taxpayers will pay. So when you say something, as a matter of fact, on the rate of cumulative taxes on would actually be 27%, not 20%, or $227,000, not $20,000, as it would seem to indicate in this. So my point is, and I'll leave it pretty much at that the real problem that I have is not in what you do, it's the way you do it. And I support what Mrs. Brister just said. Some of us who are annoying and come to these school board meetings and raise your eyebrows and say, oh, here's Mr. Lind and here's Mrs. Brister again. Don't you understand that our real bitch, if you want to put it in street language, is that we don't like the process. What you come up with, you're the people that were voted in. Do what you want to do. But at least give us honest, transparent things that we can have understanding of. Last thing is, I was at the finance meeting last Wednesday. An hour and a half of meeting that could have been easily down to 45 minutes. But everybody on that board had all the material in front of them, and they were asking questions during the meeting, and I'm saying, why are you asking questions? It's there in the material. And at one point in the meeting, finally a question was asked, and I forget the name of the gentleman who was running the meeting, because I couldn't see him from the distance that I was at. I even noticed a certain peak in his voice, and he actually said this: it's what's in the document. The answer is what's in your document. And I take it that he meant, have you not read the document that was already given to you? These are the kinds of things that just annoy us no end. And yes,
Mr.
we
Lynn,
are
your
annoying
time has
ourselves. So
expired.
I'll leave it
Thank
go
you.
at that. You have my letter. I hope you would read it. I was trying to be as detailed and as conservative as possible.
Jenny Patella Ambler, and mine's, I think, simple. The surveys, we talked about 2 surveys, I believe. They're 2 separate surveys that the parents will be notified on both those surveys prior to the kids taking them. And then I bring back the conversation we had when we were discussing surveys and policy. because what I have found is that internally in the buildings, students are also given some surveys. And I find some of the questions to be personal. And really, it's not like, what did you do this summer, to kind of get to know you. It is personal information about family life, about parents, about their education level, and other things. And I find it pretty intrusive, and I think parents should be aware of what the children are being asked. A situation last year was brought up several times, is that the kids actually felt like they had to answer it also, that it was part of like a required assignment. So even though we might say, oh, well, they're not really required or it's anonymous, the reality is that's not true. The kids feel pressure. A teacher's telling them to fill out something. They feel pressure to fill that out. And I think it could be a random teacher or anybody in the building. It isn't something that's approved from guidance or from the district or from the principal even. It could be just a teacher asking some of the questions. And I feel like this is something the parents should be aware of, or have a survey that we know parents are given the questions, or the principal and they come up with it, and that the same teachers aren't asking the same questions, or one teacher they only have for a quarter of the semester is asking all students in that school. It should come maybe from the top and be very voluntary and very transparent. And that would be my request. And how do we go forward with that, since we don't necessarily make policy at this level for buildings? But how can we have something consistent in the buildings so that parents are aware of surveys, the questions that are asked, and the kids feel comfortable not answering it if they're not comfortable answering it? Thank you.
I do not see anyone else approaching, so I'm going to close the public participation for now. I do want to note that one written comment was received per our practice. It will be posted on our website. I will note that it was submitted on behalf of the Upper Dublin African American and Black Students and Families Equity and Empowerment Subcommittee, and it was to welcome Dr. Smith to Upper Dublin. I will respond to a couple of points. On the timing of the Zoom focus groups, the superintendent search process went very, very rapidly. It went very, very rapidly over the summer. And we wanted to do it that way in order for us to be able to get a superintendent in place as quickly as possible. We love Dr. Feely. She's doing great things here for our district. But the word interim is just what it says. It's interim. And we now have a permanent superintendent who is going to join us on December the 4th, if I have my day right. And so the expediency and the urgency was real. And we met our goal, which was to appoint a superintendent at tonight's September 27th meeting. And there was a lot of effort on many different levels from people around this table and beyond the table to get to that point. And to people that could not attend either of the sessions on that day, there was also a written survey, and about 1,100 people did fill out that survey and provided information that way as well. Dr. Feely, there was a question about whether the surveys, parents would be notified for both of them. Do you want to just clarify that?
So for the pay survey, I did share that the information is anonymous, and an informed consent letter will be sent to the parents or guardians, and that will be happening at either the end of this week or the beginning of next week. As it relates to the Mission Kids and Victim Service programs that we're offering, again, all the programs that we're offering in 9th, 8th, and K-1 students, the programs have informed consent information that will be sent to the parents. The secondary survey actually has a pre and post survey to go along with it, which we will provide to parents and guardians upon request.
Appreciate that. Comments from the board, Mr. Sirota.
I just want to acknowledge the way I heard the comment from the public about the implied consent I think the concern that I heard was more about surveys that may happen during the school day that are not coming from administration. At least that was part of the comment. So I don't know if there's anything to say about that. I just want to acknowledge that's what I heard. There was a comment that that we don't understand math. That basically said we would say that a 2% increase 10 times would be 20%. I would certainly not say that. I understand the math. 1.02 to the 10th is whatever that works out to be. And I don't think that the report in June said any such thing. I did get Mr. Lynn's letter and replied to it, and I copied the rest of the board on that so that you've all seen it, because I think not all of you, received the original, but now you do have it if you haven't seen the original. So I just want to acknowledge that has been, at least I have responded to that. Thank you.
Any other comments from anyone around the table on any of the topics? I just want to also address one issue. There was a comment made about time of a meeting, a finance committee meeting, and preparation and reading. And I think I speak for everyone on the board that there are a lot of hours devoted to reading materials, both before, after, and during meetings. And when questions are raised, they're real, and they're questions that board members have, and we always appreciate and respect the answers that are given by the administration as we discuss and debate issues. And I'd like to think that the length of our meetings is a good thing, because it shows how serious we're taking our jobs and how serious we're giving attention to matters. Any other questions or any other comments? Ms. Sherbier.
Yeah, I think I heard two things today. One was about the length of the meetings being too long, and then another one that we were going too fast at the meeting. So I think it's important to stress that the committee meetings are the ones where we have the in-depth discussions, and the legislative meeting is really the one where we approve the discuss or solidify the motions that are on the table. So I do think that the finance meeting, there was definitely substantial conversation there, and also for the public to know that those meetings are the meetings for the board to actually have discussions. We cannot, as a board, have discussions outside of the meeting with the full board. So, I mean, I think the length of the committee meetings is longer, and that is for a reason.
Any other comments? Okay, we will move on. We have some informational items. We have our enrollment report. We have liaison committee reports. Do any liaisons have anything to add other than what's in their reports? Usually at the start of the year, reports are sometimes sparse as things get started. They'll probably populate further as we go forward during the year. We have our monthly committee meeting, approved minutes, June 7th, Education and Policy, and August 16th for Finance. We have our schedule for upcoming meetings. Our next Education Committee meeting will be Wednesday, October the 4th at 6 o'clock. Policy Committee, 7 o'clock, or immediately following Education. Next Finance Committee meeting will be Wednesday, October the 18th at 6 o'clock. And our next legislative meeting will be Monday, October the 23rd at 7 o'clock. We look forward to seeing Dr. Smith, hopefully, at some of those meetings, if she's able to join us for some of those. And once again, I think on behalf of the entire school district, welcome, Dr. Smith. We look forward to your tenure as superintendent. Congratulations. And with that, we are adjourned.